One of the most interesting stories of the Sahaba, in my estimation, is all relative, obviously. Some people find different things interesting. Out of the stories of the Sahaba, one of the Sahaba that really resonates with me, a very intriguing story, is the story of Salman Al Farsi. Now, obviously, most of us have heard his story. I want to just bring about certain aspects of it that I find very powerful, very intriguing. Salman Al Farsi, as you all know, Farsi from Persia, and we don't know much about his early life because nobody was a Sahabi in Persia. In fact, Salman Al Farsi is the only convert who was Farsi, the only Sahabi that we know of who was Persian, and also the only convert from the religion of the Majus, Zoroastrianism. None of the Sahaba that we know of, and not a single one of them. We have Christian converts, we have Jewish converts, 4, 5, 6, 7 Christian converts, 2 or 3 famous Jewish converts. But as for Majus or Zoroastrian, only one. Only one companion who is from the Zoroastrianism. And of course, I don't want to go into Zoroastrianism, but it is one of the most ancient religions in the world, meaning it is around, 4,000 years old. And it is also one of the smallest. There's only 100,000 people left. That's it. Very small faith tradition left. It's very ancient and very small. And the Zoroastrians, the Arabic word Majus, it comes from what we call in English the Magi. The same thing we call in Magi, it's Majus, because the priests of the Zoroastrians, they're called Magais. And so the Arabs called the religion after their priests, the Majus. And of course, very briefly, Zoroastrians are the only religion in the whole world that actually believe in 2 eternal gods. This is the only religion. There's only one faith that actually believes in 2. Even, believe it or not, Hinduism actually believes in one supreme God and then many mini gods, one ultimate. As for Zoroastrianism, they're the only faith that actually has 2 gods, the God of good, the God of light, right? And so they have Ahura Mazda, they have Ahriman, and there's a constant battle between them. So God creates, Ahura Mazda creates us, and Ahriman creates evil, darkness, scorpions, lizards. Ahriman creates, I'm not even joking. And Ahura Mazda creates good. Anyway, so Salman Al Farsi is born in this. Oh, by the way, of course, for India and Pakistan, you know what Zoroastrians are called in our language. What do we call them? Why do we call them Parsis, for Persians? Because when the Muslims came to Iran, when the Muslims conquered Iran, hundreds of thousands of Zoroastrians fled. And they fled not to Christian lands who had persecuted them. They fled to the closest polytheistic nation, which is India. So they fled to India when the Muslims conquered Iran. And when they came to India, the Indians called them Persians, Parsis. And so because of this, we still know them as Parsis. And obviously, those of us from India, Pakistan, we know their most strange habit when it comes to burial. You know this? Yes, you know, right? Those that are, it's one of the most bizarre rituals in the whole world. They believe when a person is alive, he's good, he's pure. When he dies, he converts from the God of good to the God of evil. His body becomes filthy. When he dies, he cannot be buried because his body is so evil, the physical body, because the soul is going to go back to God. The body cannot be touched or buried. And so they are not allowed to have the earth touch the body. So what do? They have special towers all high up, and they put the body on top of the tower, and they allow vultures to go and eat from the body until there is no more body. SubhanAllah, this is one of the more bizarre things. Anyway, I didn't want to talk about Zoroastrianism. It's talking about Salman Al Farsi, the only convert that's born in Persia, and he's raised up as Zoroastrian. And then, as you know the story, he was from a noble family. I'm not go over the whole story. It's I'm sure that everybody has heard of this. It's one of the most famous stories of the seerah, of the conversion of Salman Al Farsi, that he saw a Christian, heard a Christian, and the Christian was from another sect of Christianity called Nestorianism, all of Allah's qadr. Nestorianism is also, going to a bit of a tangent here, it is the oldest sect of Christianity that is still around. It's only in Iraq, 50,000 people as well. And when the emperor Constantine became Christian, he adopted a version of Christianity that is Trinitarianism. 3 gods, 3 1, 3 equals 1. One version, Nestorianism, said no, Jesus was human and then he became God, or he was adopted by God. I have a bizarre belief that Jesus was human and then God adopted him. He's not the actual son, whatever. So it's a fringe movement now, but it is the oldest sect of Christianity. And Allah's qadr, that when Constantine banned all other versions, Nestorians fled to Persia. And so the only version of Christianity in Persia was closer to Tawheed, because they believed in one ultimate God, and Jesus was born human and then he's adopted. It's a different belief here. So Salman Al Farsi, again, Allah's qadr, when Allah chooses, you cannot. Salman Al Farsi then passes by one of these Nestorian monks. And the story, as you're all aware, he is attracted to Tawheed. He leaves the nobility of his father. He gives up his life and his wealth, and he joins, Christianity, but his father wants to kill him. And so he flees Persia, going wherever the Christians can take him. He gave up his wealth and his fame. And this is what we see here. I'm going to come back to this point here. When you give up something for Allah, Allah blesses you with more than what you gave up. He left his land with nothing, and he gave up everything he had, his nobility, his status, and he traveled to the closest land in the lands of the Christians, and he went up to the priest, the highest priest, and that priest adopted him because he was an exotic Persian convert. The priest adopted him. The story is very long. I'm not going to go there. He goes over a series of 5, 6, 7, some reports say 12 priests, one after the other. He goes over wanting to study and search for the truth, wanting to be a scholar and a worshipper of Allah. And he meets good priests and bad priests. But subhanAllah, even when he meets corrupt priests, his iman in Allah is never shaken, which shows you how strong. Usually when a convert, when they have a Muslim who does bad to them, understandably, they feel, what type of religion is this? And they leave the faith because of the actions of a Muslim. Astaghfirullah, be careful, a Muslim, especially when you deal with converts. Salman Al Farsi, the priest who adopted him, turned out to be an evil and corrupt man, but it only increased his iman in Allah. He could understand the difference between the priest and between Allah and religion. And when he exposed the priest, the Christians admired and respected him. And so Allah blessed an outsider to become an esteemed insider, because Salman was true and Salman lived up to the ideals. And he asked one of his mentors of the Nestorians, who can I go to study with? I don't want to study this Trinitarian Christianity. I want the real teaching. So the mentor said, there's one person I know, you can go to him. And the story goes on. Every person he was with 2, 3, 4 years, when he's about to die, he sends him to one person. But subhanAllah, when you look at the map, and I did this when I was doing the longer series I did a few years ago, literally from Persia, he goes from city to city to city to city, and Allah's qadr, he makes his way to the borders of Arabia. Wallahi, this is all Allah's qadr. How? From where to where? Slowly but surely, every priest that sends him forward, he sends him closer to the Prophet ﷺ, not even knowing that is going there. Until the final priest that he studies with, the final priest says, I don't know anybody who is remaining upon our version of Christianity. They're all gone. But you are now at a time when the one whom our teachers told us about, when Jesus predicted, the one that we predicted is going to come, I feel he's going to come. And I will tell you the signs we know. By the way, these signs are not found in the other version of Christianity. So we know that Isa alayhi salam taught his followers certain signs, and some sects of Christianity preserved those signs. He said, I'm going to teach you 3 things. Number 1, one of the signs of this prophet, he will not accept charity. He doesn't accept charity. Number 2, he will accept a gift. And number 3, there is a special seal on his body that when you see it, you will recognize he is Khatamun Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Khatamur Rusul, there's going to be a khatam, a physical seal that's going to be on his body. And he said, the only thing I know, he shall be in a land of date palms. That's what we know, that he's going to come in that land. I don't know what city it is, in a land of date palms. So Salman Al Farsi then decided, at this time he has wealth, he has crops, he has, he decided to sell everything and go to the land of date palms. He asked, where is the closest land of date palms? He was told Tabuk, because he was close to, probably in around Jerusalem area. So he said Tabuk is the closest date palms. So he sold everything. He found an Arab tribe. He goes, I'm going to pay you money. Can you take me to Tabuk? They said, sure, no problem. They took his money. Soon as they left the Roman Empire, khalas, they captured him and they sold him into slavery. This is what happens when you didn't have civilization, when you didn't have a global world. There is no police to call. What's he going to do? He doesn't have a passport, right? This is the dangers of traveling back in the day. They literally betrayed the trust and captured him and sold him into being a slave. By this time, he's probably around 40, 50 years old. We don't know his exact age, but he's probably like already, past the prime of his life, because he's been with 10 different priests going up his way. And then Allah's qadr, the one he sells him to happens to be a Yahudi from Yathrib. He sells him to Yahudi from Yathrib. All of this is Allah's qadr. And so he comes back all the way to Yathrib, and he has no option. He is nowhere to go. He cannot flee, because again, in this world, can you imagine, if you run away as a slave, you will be executed, right? So what can you do? So he becomes working. And when he says, the report goes, when I saw Yathrib, when I saw the date palms, it came in my heart that Allah has sent me to this place. Look again, he gave up everything. He becomes a slave. His iman is still strong. Look, subhanAllah, this is just mind-boggling. He says, so soon as I saw Yathrib, I realized this is where. And this is one of the main benefits of the story of Salman. When you desire Allah's blessings, you will get Allah's blessings. When you are sincere to Allah, Allah will be sincere to you. When you put your trust in Allah, Allah will do whatever needs to be done. Even as a slave, he didn't lose his iman in Allah. And he was hopeful, I'm going to meet the Prophet. As you know, eventually, the Prophet ﷺ came to Yathrib, and he wanted to test him as a slave. So he said that, I took some of the dates. He's the slave in the date palm, the date palms that were there. He would be harvesting the dates. He said, I took some of the dates and I presented it to the Prophet ﷺ, and I said, this is sadaqah. This is charity for the poor. This is charity. And I put it in front of him. So the Prophet ﷺ said to the people around him, come, eat from the charity. And Salman said, I saw his hand did not touch a single date. So I said to myself, this is one of the three signs. Okay, then I worked more and more, because he has to work his own money. And then I presented another dates a few days later. I said, this is hadiyah. This is a gift to you. And he said to the people, come eat. And he ate as well. So Salman said, this is the second. But then he goes, how am I going to see the third? How am I going to get this seal over here? So he said, I kept on being in the company of the Prophet on every occasion to see. And once he went to the Baqi' al-Gharqad, the graveyard, and there was a burial taking place, and he was going to go inside the qabr to put the body, and he was wearing an izar. An izar is basically the ihram type of garment. He was wearing a upper and top garment. So I realized this is my opportunity. I walk behind him, but he had the izar on, the rida on very tightly, and I wasn't able to see. So I'm saying, what can I do now? I'm walking behind, what can I do now? And the Prophet saw me behind, and so he lowered the rida so that he can show me. By the way, what is the khatam? The khatam is a special outgrowth of hair that is small, like a pigeon's egg, right in the center of the back. Right in the center of the back. And they say that it is like multicolored. So it's different colors that are, not normal on most people. This is a special sign that right over here, there's just a small outgrowth of hair that is different colors, and it's shaped like a pigeon's egg. It's a physical sign. And the fact that the Prophet ﷺ lowers his garment, this is not the only time in the seerah. Multiple times, he has noticed people walk right behind him, wanting to see something. And so he himself is aware that this is a sign that some people have been told, because he did not preach this sign. He did not tell Sahaba about it. Rather, this was a sign that Musa and Isa had told their followers. And so multiple times, for example, in the Battle of Tabuk, one of the priests came from a Roman Empire, and they call him a Tanuchi. And the same thing, that he wanted to see the sign, and in the conversation, he literally stands up and walks behind the Prophet ﷺ. Nobody does that, right? Because he doesn't know what else to do. And the Prophet ﷺ realizes it, and he does the same thing to him as well, right? So Salman Al Farsi as well, he does this. And when Salman Al Farsi saw this, he burst into tears, and he rushed to kiss the Prophet ﷺ, and he rushed to hug him. And the Prophet ﷺ understood this man's story is not typical, because nobody knows this sign except the silsila from Jesus Christ. Nobody knows this sign except. So he says, what is your story, O Salman? Right? So by the way, every time somebody converts, they would say, what is your story? We're following the sunnah, guys, okay? Don't worry about it. Because we love to hear convert stories. We love to, it makes our own iman strong. So the Prophet himself said, what is your qissa? You must have a qissa. This is a deeper story. So Salman tells the entire story from the beginning, to which I'm summarizing. And the Prophet said, come to the masjid, you will tell your story to everybody. And so he literally had Salman narrate the whole story. And so when Ustad stands up and says, why did you convert to Islam? He's following the sunnah. He wants everybody to get the story, because it validates our iman. We like to hear, what was the story of your conversion. And so Salman gives the whole story, and then the Prophet ﷺ says to him, "Oh Salman, ask your master for a price, we will help you pay it. We will help free you. Ask your master for a price." When he went to his master, the master said, "I don't want to sell you." But he insisted. So the master gave an exorbitant price. Exorbitant. He said, "You must plant 300 date palms for free. And you must wait until those 300 are now able to give their own dates, which is going to take 5-10 years, right? And on top of that, give me 40 uqiyya of silver, 40 grams of silver. Like, that is a phenomenal price, like very expensive, far above the average price. But what can you do?" So he went back to the Prophet and I'm sad, said, "Ya Rasulullah, my master's not budging. 300 date palms. Not even just planting, until they are able to be now, harvested, or they're going to become trees, then you can leave, along with that 40. So he said, "Don't worry." And then he stood up and he gave a fundraiser for Salman. This is one of the few times the Prophet himself does the fundraiser. And he says, "Oh, people of Medina, bring your date palms to Salman. Whoever is able to give sadaqah," the sadaqah wasn't even money. It was date palms. And it was to the farmers of Medina that donate not the seed, but dig up an already planted, sapling, right? Dig up those seeds that are already sprouting, those small baby ones, so that we already expedite the process, right? Don't just plant it, dig them, and whoever wants to give sadaqah to Salman. And so one by one, people, the farmers began coming until they had 300, saplings in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. Then he said to Salman, "Okay, ya Salman, go and dig 300 holes. That's on you. You have to do the physical labor. You do the 300 holes, but don't plant them. I will plant them." So Salman went and he spent the whole few days digging 300 holes. Then the Prophet ﷺ took a team of people. Subhanallah, wallahi, amazing how much work to free Salman, right? The Prophet ﷺ went with a group of people. They're all carrying, the 300. And then he, with his own hands, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, planted 300 date palms. Can you imagine? It's going to take at least 4 or 5 hours minimum, bare minimum of manual labor. He did it himself, and he made dua every time when he planted. He made dua. Of course, the Sahaba are helping to get to him. There's a whole teamwork going on here, but each one of them, he's making special dua and planting it. And subhanallah, of course, this is the barakah. Then that seed comes out, and within a few weeks or months, all of these 300 have now gone years, that all of this has happened. And so that is done. How about the money? What's going to happen? That we don't have 40 grams of silver. So once a man came and said, "Ya Rasulullah, I found some little bit, amount here, and this is fi sabilillah, sadaqah. This is, I'm giving you to give to somebody." So the Prophet got this small amount, and he said, "Ayn al-Farisi?" Where's the Farsi guy? "Ayn al-Farisi?" Because there was only one Persian in all of Medina. So he was a slave. They went and called him. So the Prophet said, "Here, this is for your freedom." Salman said, "Ya Rasulullah, this is not, he wanted 40 grams. It's not going to work." SubhanAllah, listen to this. The Prophet took that silver, he put it on his tongue, and he went back and forth, and he said, "Go tell your master to weigh this. Go tell him to weigh it." And it's a small amount. We don't see how this is a different world. This is not our world of ilm al-ghayb. So he takes this small amount as if it is a large amount, and he says to the man, "This is the amount you wanted." The man just takes it, weighs it, and turns out to be 40. Like in his eyes or whatever, it is that amount, right? So he said, "Khalas, you are free then." And this incident took place a few weeks before the Battle of Khandaq. So Salman, when he's narrating as a much older man, he said, "Because of this, I was not able to attend Badr and Uhud, and that is my biggest regret." He regrets that he was a slave, so he couldn't participate in Badr and Uhud, and he's making an excuse. "I'm sorry guys, I really wanted to, but it's not I couldn't have done anything." So he's freed before the Battle of Khandaq. You all know he was the one who gave the advice for the Khandaq, because he's bringing in new technology. And again, this shows us the spirit of Islam. We're always willing to take knowledge from people outside of our faith that is not related to Allah and His Messenger. This is one of the characteristics of the Muslim from the beginning of time. We're always willing to engage with outside technology, civilization, thaqafa, no problem, as long as it's not about, iman and whatnot. Yes, we can take from them. So Salman benefits in this regard. Long story short, I don't go to every single detail. There's one point that is really so profound to me, and that is, of course, there's many ahadith praising Salman, many blessings of Salman. By the way, in the Battle of Khandaq, one other thing before we get to the end, the Ansar and the Muhajirun, Salman is neither Muhajir nor Ansari. Right? He's neither Muhajir nor Ansari because he's a slave that was freed in Medina. He's not Madani and he's not Makki Muhajir. So during the Battle of Khandaq, when the Sahaba split into two teams to dig, and they're digging for the Khandaq, each team said, Salman, just come join us. We want you to come. Right? It's like a competition. You come on, you migrated, you're Makkah. No, you were here in Medina, you're Ansari. So they're teasing each other and halal, gentle Islamic brotherhood competition. Each one is praising Salman, join us. And Salman stuck, which side do I go to help? And then the Prophet ﷺ came out. He held the hand of Salman and he said, Salman is neither Muhajir nor Ansari. Salman minna ahl al-bayt. He gave him a VIP upgrade. The only Sahabi that's not Ahl al-Bayt that was upgraded to Ahl al-Bayt status. That's why Salman could never accept sadaqah till he died, because the Prophet ﷺ upgraded him to Ahl al-Bayt status. Like, he is considered amongst us because he doesn't have anybody else. We will adopt him and he'll be considered from my Ahl al-Bayt, from the Ahl al-Bayt. It's one of the blessings of Salman that no other companion outside of the actual Ahl al-Bayt got. And so Salman was given a special status in this regard. Anyway, long story short, much can be said here. One of the things that to me is the most mind-boggling and profound is that after the Prophet passed away, Salman is now participating in the battles, and he joins the battle of Qadisiyah with Khalid ibn al-Walid and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, sorry. And he joins the battle of Qadisiyah. The battle of Qadisiyah was against whom? His own peoples. It was against the Persians. And so now he is one of the commanders in the battle of Qadisiyah that is meant to free his own people from the paganism and to invite them to Islam. And he, of course, is one of the main leaders and generals. Qadisiyah is a massive victory and the Persian Empire is conquered. And Salman Al Farsi is amongst the first of the people who enter the very land that was his once upon a time. He's the only Persian Sahabi, right? And now he enters the very palaces of the land that he could not go in as a citizen. You cannot walk into, the palaces of the people when you're a citizen. Now he comes from a slave, from leaving as somebody that gave up everything, right? Now Allah blessed him to walk into the most magnificent palace, of the emperor of the Sassanid Empire. By the way, the palace that is Tesaf on Madain, it is still standing. And it is considered to be one of the wonders of the world. It is a magnificent palace. It's like an arch that goes up like this. The remnants are still there. That very palace, Salman Al Farsi, literally that exact same palace is still there. Salman Al Farsi walked into it. And subhanallah, the Amir said to Salman Al Farsi, you shall be the leader of, or the governor of your land here. Subhanallah, to me this is mind-boggling. Wallahi, look from where to where. Right? He left his land, fleeing, persecuted, and he comes back more than 50, 60, 70 years later. We don't know exactly how long. He comes back after all of these years, and he becomes not the ruler, because obviously the ruler is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, but the governor. He basically becomes the de facto ruler and the governor of his own province and land. Subhanallah. This really shows us the blessings. And he passes away there and his qabr is over there. Subhanallah, he left the very land and now he comes back and he becomes the one in charge. What a beautiful anecdote and story that shows us when you put your trust in Allah and when you realize Allah will take care of me. Indeed, Allah takes care of you. Salman got deen and dunya. Salman, by the way, he got dunya, but he never ever lived in a lavish way. In fact, it is said he would not sleep in the palace. He would sleep under a tree because his whole life it was monastery in Christianity. His whole life was, zuhd and ibadah and whatnot. So he didn't like the palace. So he went and slept on a tree. The people would say to him, you have the palace. He goes, this is more beloved to me, just to sleep on the ground and whatnot. Until finally somebody said, I have to build you a house. He came to Salman and goes, I beg you, let me build you a house. Salman said, how large is it going to be? The man understood. So he goes, it will be so large that when you stand up, your head is going to hit against the roof. And when you put your feet out, you won't have to, the space to fully spread it. He goes, okay, that's fine then. So he built him a small little hut. And that was his house. And it is said once in the books of history that Salman would dress exactly the same, no entourage. Once a merchant came from another land to sell his goods, and he needed help transporting from the camel to the bazaar. He's looking for some cheap laborer, right? And he sees Salman, but he doesn't recognize him. So he goes, hey you, Anta, can you help me with my goods? He wants to find somebody, that you can find like some comfort in. So Salman comes up, starts helping the goods from the man's camel to the bazaar. When the other people see, he said, Ya Amira, let us help you. So the man said, who is this guy? He goes, this is the leader. This is Salman Al Farsi. He said, I'm so sorry, I didn't recognize you. And Salman said, so what? You asked me a favor and I'm doing it. What's the big deal? You want me to help? I'm helping you. So he tried to insist. Salman said, no, it was my niyyah to take your goods from your place to your bazaar, and I'm going to finish this. SubhanAllah, the humility of Salman Al Farsi. And of course, he passed away and he's buried over there. Our Prophet ﷺ said that if Iman were in one of the northern stars, then this person from Persia would have gotten it. This is a hadith. If Iman were found way up there in the skies, then the Farsi would have found it up there. His niyyah was so strong, he wanted hidayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to go city by city, mentor by mentor, until finally he went to the very city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever puts his trust in Allah, Allah will take care of him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on Salman Al Farsi and resurrect us with him. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.